All right, in this video we're going to learn how to put in the data for an individual trial. And one thing that's important about our system is an individual trial is defined as one location, one crop, and one growing season. So you could have a lot of different varieties that are being evaluated, but it's always one location, one crop, and one growing season. So first, if you haven't already, you should logged in. Mine's going straight to into the site because I had already logged in. And then to put in a new trial, you would go here to the trial button. Okay, now this form is the form that you fill out, and once you filled out this form, you will have entered one trial into the system. Now, it's important to see this video to understand what the fields are that need to be filled out. But for many of you, you're going to be entering multiple trials, maybe from a database or from a spreadsheet. In that case, you're going to want to use our batch upload system. In a separate video, I'm going to show you how to do that. But this video just walks you through the fields to enter a new trial. So now I'm going to go through each one of these just to learn a little bit more about what they are. Okay, if you go into the trial group, uh, every trial is a member of a larger group. So these trial groups could be a group of multi-location trials. They could also be some trials over many different years. And if you hit on your keyboard Shift and the percent sign, you'll see a list of the trials that are the trial groups that you should choose from. Now, if you're putting in a new trial group, and this is true for any other table in the database, you would click on this plus button, and it brings up a new form, and this is where you would add a new trial group. But in many cases, these trial groups are already going to exist, and you won't need to do this step. So let's say, for example, that we're going to add a new trial into this group called CIAT Yield 1998 to 2000. So we would put that in there. Now, let's say we're doing a trial, and in this case, I'll use an example from my center, which is CIAT Palmyra, and I'll put in 2011 cassava trial. This name can be any name that you put in there, and that's mostly for your own use. Now, each trial should have a contact person, and one feature that we want to show for this system is if you put in some letters. This is something called autocomplete. It'll show you all the names or all the text in the database that starts with those letters. So you'll always want to use this functionality. And the contact person for this trial is Jimena Moreno. So she's the person over in the cassava program. So I'll put her in for the trial. This trial is going to be in Colombia. So I'll put in start putting in the letters until it gets to the country that I want. In this case, it's Colombia. And the trial site is Palmyra. And there we have the site. This is for CIAT's Palmyra Experimental Station. Now, I can also put in a field name or number or field for this this trial, but this is for your own purposes and not required. Then for the technology, this would be the crop or other technology that you're evaluating in the trial. In this case, I'll do an example of cassava. but it could be any other crop or technology that's part of our database. So we choose cassava, and now I get to the point where we want to put in the varieties or the races that are being evaluated. Now, it could be that, or hopefully we're going to already have these varieties in the database. So if you just click in the entry box and then start putting in letters, you would start to see some different varieties that you might have in your database. So I'll just put in a few. This could be up to tens of different varieties that you might want to include in your trial. And remember, we're going to go back and show the batch process, how this would be done much more rapidly if you're entering multiple trials. But this is just to give you an idea of the type of information that goes in there. And again, if you don't find the variety that's in your trial program, you can add it by clicking on this add button. The next piece of information that you need to put in is the variables measured, or the traits. So you would start putting in anything that that you're measuring in the trial. So, for example, you see some of these different variables that are measured, and you might have a large number of these. So you would put all these in, and again, any that you don't have in your list, you click on the button here to provide or to add a new one. Now, you need to put in the sowing date and the planting date. You can use this calendar function. So you put that in. We'll just put in some fictitious dates here. So now you've got the sowing date and the planting date in. And this next group of entries here is where you put in files that are related to the trial. So for example, the trial results file. This file could be any of a number of different formats. Typical Microsoft Office formats, PDF, or a zip format. And what you do is you hit the select file button and you find that file on your hard drive. You hit open, and now you would have these results files in there. Typically, this result file is the file that might have the yield data and all the other variables measured. So these are the results of your trial. Next, there's a supplemental information file. And whenever you put in a trial, you should probably be making in some kind of text file or a Word file, some kind of document file, a list of information that's related to the trial. That could be information on treatments, information on special conditions, any information at all that's related to that trial. So you select, and I'm just going to take a file that I have in my on my hard drive, and again, this is just an example. Now, the weather during the trial. This is the information about rainfall, temperature, any other weather information that's linked to a given trial. So again, you would find find a file that has that information. Let me just put in, these would typically be an Excel file, is what most of these are gonna be in that format. Okay, next would be a file on the soil conditions during the trial. In this case, I'm not going to select one. This is not a required file. Now, let's move on to the license. Every trial has a license that goes with it. And this is your way of putting intellectual property considerations onto your trial. So what you would do first is click on this Creative Commons license generator. There's some information here about how this works. And what we're doing here is we're pulling in an application from the Creative Commons website. So first you click on the logo here, and then you need to go through a whole bunch of questions about how you want to manage the data, or set the sharing properties of your data set. One thing you see here, you see this in Spanish. This is because my Windows system is in Spanish, and so that's why it's like that. So you would go through, answer these questions. Do you permit commercial use? Different questions. These are all self-explanatory, and you should be able to go through these rather quickly. And I'm just going to put in a few names here just to go through this, and this is just an example. So let me put in a URL. This is my website URL, and just for the purposes of this, I'm just going to copy these into the system. Then you select a license. They give you a couple of choices about what you want your license to look like, and then this code. If you copy this code, then close your window, then you paste it into this box, then you've gone through your license. Now, with respect to who has access to the files that you put in, these could be open to all users or only to specified users. So if you click open to specified users, then it gives you this box, and we can specify who the users that might be enabled to download your files. So you just select those, hit save and close, and now this means only these people would be able to download your data set. If you don't put anybody in here, nobody will be able to download it. Then finally here, trials could be real or simulated. We do have some users that are doing models that would simulate these. And you put in the trial date, then you hit the save button. And it says the item was created successfully. And now you have successfully created a trial. And if you go here to the latest trials page, you would see the trial that you had created. This was the information that we just created. And to be able to download the file, you hit on that. It asks you to accept the license. And that's basically it. And in another video, we'll show you more on how this was done. Thank you.